Cation. Okay, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Early Morning Tea. I have the most favorite of my beverages, morning beverages, a cup of tea in my early morning tea cup. I take another sip. Welcome to Early Morning Tea. I am your host, Lydia Ford. I wear many hats. I pastored for a while. I am a mentor. I am a international best-selling author of the anthology, The Creative's Leadership. Also, author of three of my own books that have been published on Amazon. Don't forget to say your prayers. Carest thou not that I perish in the midst of the storm, and from broken bread to poured out wine. I am also a certified grief counseling. My counseling service is Grace to Win. You can find me on my website at the bottom. Everything is scrolling at the bottom. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a sister girlfriend, I'm a mentor. I wear a lot of hats, and also currently a member of Covenant Life Fellowship in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I am the chairperson of their women's ministry there. So, as I said, I wear a lot of different hats, but the hat I'm wearing today is my early morning tea hat. So, if it's your first time, welcome to Early Morning Tea. I'm as pleased as punch. I'm excited as can be because I am starting a new evening podcast. It's going to be quarterly on Monday evenings at 7 o'clock for 5 consecutive Mondays, starting prayerfully. And I say that prayerfully because I'm dealing with a little health issue right now, but prayerfully starting on Monday, February the 5th. It's a Monday night. It's going to be 7 to 8 p.m. My first guests are Yvette C. Owens and Catrice Cornett. They happen to be biological sisters, but each one of them in their own right is absolutely fabulous. And they're going to be my first guests. You're going to hear more about them. As the week goes on, I'll just kind of give you little tidbits about what they do and introduce them. But you are going to also be favored by 4 other guests that will come every Monday starting the 5th of February until March the 4th, I believe it is. I had to sneak in a Monday in March because, February is a short month. So, again, I'm excited. Join me for a transformative journey on Lydia's Tea Talk, a podcast steeped with grace and soul. Again, every Monday from 7 to 8. Now, in order to see the podcast, you have to be on my Early Morning Tea page. I have an Early Morning Tea page, and I'm going to be broadcasting from that page. So if you're not a member of that group, please become a member of that group, because that's where I'll be streaming from. Okay, so let's get started because I may have to bust a move after I get off Early Morning Tea and take care of some business. And today's topic, and I feel like a sneeze is coming on, so y'all please excuse me. There it goes. Every now and then, this is live TV or live streaming, so anything could happen at this point. Good morning, Minister Sheila. I want to talk about 18 tips for dealing with stubborn, aging parents / adult family members that you might be the caregiver for. I'm talking about this because it's impacted my life for the last couple of years that I have been down here in the Triangle area in Raleigh. We call it the Triangle area. I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from actually being in Raleigh. I live in Wake Forest, which is like a suburb, like Connecticut. You got Bloomfield, South Windsor, East Hartford, Manchester, just like that down here. Anyway, I moved down here to help my brother who take care of my mom, who actually lives with him and my sister-in-law. So my purpose, my assignment coming down here was to partner with them to partake of the honor, pleasure, responsibility, because that's what it is, assignment, of taking care of my mom. My mom turned 93 last month, and she is a dialysis patient. and she also has mild dementia. And it is increasingly becoming more challenging, sometimes more stressful, in caring for her. A lot of the burden is on my brother because she actually is a resident. She lives with him, but he travels a lot, and a lot of the responsibilities on my sister-in-law. As I said, we try to share the responsibility. But as my mom is growing older, as dementia is kind of setting in a little bit more, and as she becomes more weary of dialysis treatment, there are some concerns that I have as her eldest living child, and the one that actually comes alongside my brother and assisting her. There's some things that I have encountered. There's some things that I really struggle with, Sheila. And that's why I bring these topics to you, because in bringing them to you, it's also helping me to get a broader perspective on how to do things, how to manage my own sanity, how to manage my own mindset, how to manage my own self-care a lot better. And in this first quarter, 2024, I'm focusing on how do we go about men and women, but mostly women, aging gracefully so that we just don't wear out and just give up and throw in the towel and just say, like, I'm disgusted. I don't want no more of this. I can't fix this. What am I going to do now? Okay. That feeling of depression, that feeling of helplessness can set in if we don't have a well-defined plan, if we do not take care of our own selves, if we don't have a higher, I won't call it a higher power, because with me, it's the higher power is Jesus, is God himself, but everybody is not, that's not everybody's go-to, but my faith is what keeps me rooted and grounded in my purpose, my assignment, and being hopeful, even when things start to take a turn and look adverse or different from what you expect. I'm talking about this because even as I have a 93-year-old mom, me, myself, and I, I'm not a baby. I'm 71. So I come with my own issues at 71, my own health issues, my own mindset, my own stuff. Okay. Good morning, Rachel, and happy belated birthday. So let me just talk to you about tips for dealing with stubborn aging parents or family members, adult family members that you may be responsible for. I mean, it could be an older sibling, it could be an auntie, it could be a father, it could be a mother, just a son or a daughter. So, have you ever watched your aging parents begin to decline over the past few months or years? Definitely, yes, I have. It can be scary, especially if you're watching them make decisions that you think aren't the best for their situation. Dealing with elderly parents can also be frustrating, especially if they refuse your assistance or your advice. Let me take a sip on that one. However, if you can find a way to communicate with them that helps them maintain their own autonomy and independence, because that's so important. When they're old like that, they want to maintain their own autonomy. They want to be able to do for themselves whatever they can do. They want to maintain their own independence. All right. So if you can communicate with them and help them maintain those two things, you can convince them to make the healthiest decisions possible. So why are your aging parents making risky decisions? Because aging, let me help y'all. Aging can be scary. Good morning, Jean. I'm serious. When I had to go on Medicare, it was like a wake-up call. I had to call around several different places to find a healthcare provider that took Medicare patients. And that really frustrated me. It kind of angered me too, because I never had to do that. When I had my hip surgery back in 2020, I think it was, because it's going on 4 years now that I've had my hip replacement. I was vulnerable. I was helpless. I couldn't do nothing but stay in that bed, okay? Which I didn't stay in the bed because you have to get up. But for the most part, the initial part after I came home, I was on drugs, a lot of them too. And I was helpless. I had to depend on people. And at the time, I was living by myself. My son was married with children, but I had to, I had friends and whatnot. But it's something about autonomy. It's something about independence that you don't want to readily give up. And I had to totally just rein all of that pride in and find out, okay, now I'm coming home from the hospital, and they don't keep you when they have your hip surgery, they will keep you 24 hours and then you coming home, okay? And they sign you up for, for therapy and things like that. But for the most part, I was living by myself. I would be in the home all by myself. I would be there overnight by myself. So I had to rein in that thing called pride and find out, okay, who can I call? Who can I get to help me make it through the day? Because I couldn't climb up and down the stairs without help. Who can I get to, at least stay with me until evening, until time to go to sleep at night? And so one of my friends from Toledo, Ohio, actually, came to stay with me for over a month. My son took care of me the first couple of days. I had other friends that would come in. They would kind of come in shifts, bring me food, cook food for me, clean the house, wash the dishes or whatever. So what am I saying? When you get older and you find yourself in situations where you are helpless and you have to reach out for others to care for you, it can be a painful thing. It can be, a feeling of depression can set in, helplessness can set in, all kind of imaginations can set in. And I was in my late 60s. I'm 71, so 4 years ago. I was like 67. All right. I was 67 when I actually went forward to have that hip surgery. And it really drastically changed my life. Even 2 years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years after that surgery, I still have pain in my hip. I'm still periodically have to go for surgery, not surgery, for therapy, for my hip. Okay. And so I can only imagine at 93 how a sense of helplessness, a sense of foreboding, a sense of depression can infiltrate, can be a daily grudge, a daily pining away, a daily dose of reality that you're not long for this world. Okay, as far as people that are in their 80s, people that are in their 90s, in their late 90s. Okay, so and let me just say this. In my mom's mind, she's still in her 80s. Because when she was in her 80s, she was still driving. She was driving from Florence to Charlotte. And I don't even want to drive and get in that traffic from Florence to Charlotte. You know how busy she was. She was still driving. She was driving at night. She was taking care of herself. She was whatever in her 80s. And not until she went on dialysis, maybe when she was about 85, 86 or something like that, did she kind of really start to go down. But there were times when, even now, since I've been down here, that she would take risk. She would do things that she know good and well she is not supposed to do. A couple of times a week, she has a medical alert, which I would advise anybody that has elderly parents, elderly that have some types of physical disabilities, mental challenges, to get one of those medical alerts. A couple of times she had to call the medical alert people, and they had to alert me, and I had to, run over there and see what was going on, like carrying something heavy. When you have a walker and you're very feeble, that's not a good idea. All right. Just, walking out the house when nobody is there, going to the neighbors, that's not a good idea. There are things that our parents do when they're vulnerable like that give you pause. And you're like, why did they do that? All right. Because they're resisting the idea of being totally helpless and vulnerable to their own their own ability to be independent now, to think decisively on their own. And guess what? Even at that age, what they hate you telling them what they can do and what they cannot do. I'm going to take a sip on that. Parents hate you telling them what they can do and what they can do, especially if they still have a mindset that they have their own account at the bank, they have their own bank account, they have their own checking account, they take out money, or they let you take money out for them. And then they go to the store, they might need somebody to take them to the store, but they buy what they want. They might be in there a little extra longer, and that's why you got to exercise patience and not rush them, because they don't want to be rushed either. Jesus. But if there are a few things that they can do and do it fairly well, all right, with a little bit of supervision, guess what? That's what they're going to do. That's what they want to do, because totally giving themselves over into the hands of somebody else, even if it's a loving daughter or son, is something that they struggle. They struggle with letting go of the last little vestige of independence and autonomy. So sometimes they do risky things that give us pause, all right? Aging can be scary. Seniors often fear the unknown, including the loss of independence and the potential long-term effects of serious medical conditions. This fear may be why many seniors are resistant to seeking help, and are sometimes even secretive about anything new, any new symptoms that might crop up, any new symptoms, pains, mindlessness, anything in their mind, forgetfulness, things like that, memory loss. They're hesitant about mentioning it to their caregiver, to their physician, because of more ensuing encroachment upon their independence. So they're secretive. Okay. So one of the first of these tips for dealing with a stubborn parent or family member is this. I may not give them all to you today, but I'm going to start with number one, because there's 18 of them. Okay. Be persistent. Patience and persistence go a long way toward making conversations productive when dealing with elderly parents or adults. Don't go in with the expectation that everything should be resolved in one shot, in one conversation, in one sitting. You will probably have to bring up your concerns to your parents numerous times. So be persistent and be patient. Bombarding the senior you love with too much information in a single conversation can needlessly trigger their fear of losing control, and it might trigger them to cuss you out too, or tell you where to go. Okay. And if your loved one has dementia or cognitive impairment, they may be unable to take in too much information. When you're cognitively impaired, you can't listen. I don't consider myself cognitively impaired, okay? But I have lost some memory over the years, and I know I have, okay? I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. I have lost some memory over the years. And what I attribute some of that memory loss to is trauma. I attach it to loss, grief, the intense, y'all don't hear me, the intense pain of losing my daughter, the intense back-to-back pain of losing my husband caused me to be in shock for a long time and to have a little bit of memory loss, to the point that initially I couldn't remember nothing. Addresses, phone numbers, I knew from way back in the day. All right. I couldn't remember things that just happened yesterday, the day before. I couldn't remember. So I had to start writing stuff down. All right. So over the years, over that period where I was so steeped in grief and loss, I suffered some memory loss. All right. And it takes me a while, if I'm thinking about something or somebody brings up something, and I try to remember a name, somebody's name. It could be a celebrity, it could be a family member, it could be somebody from the church. It takes me a while to remember that person's name. And I believe it's because of the trauma that I experienced during that grieving period. So you can imagine how a person that's suffering some type of cognition impairment, they cannot, you cannot just bombard them with lots of conversation, okay? Because they're not going to remember it. Like I said, I know I suffered some memory loss, okay? And so there are some things that conversations I get into, I can only absorb. I can only absorb so much. And then I don't forgot what you said. All right. I don't forgot what you said. So you can imagine how a person with dementia or some other cognitive impairment they're feeling. You can't give them too much information. So you got to be persistent. You have to mention it, in other conversations. Here's number 2. Try not to get in a power struggle with them. You got to pick your battles. You got to pick your battles. Don't push, don't nag, don't harangue your parents. Giving ultimatums will only get their back up in yelling, arguing, slamming doors, cussing you out, what could seriously damage your relationship. Don't do the power thing, all right? Instead, empower your loved one by making them a part of every decision-making process. Empower them to be part of the decision-making process. I know that when we were looking for some outside help and we had invited someone from Senior Helping Seniors to come in and tell us about their program, my mother was sitting right there. She was a part of the conversation. All right. We asked her, how did you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? You got to engage them in the conversation. All right. You got to validate their emotions and show them that you value their opinion. Validate how they feel. Validate their opinions. Okay. Number 3, be sensitive. Criticism and judgment can put your parents on the defensive. Bluntly telling your mom or dad that they don't know how to manage their own lives will not win them over. Oh my God. Bluntly criticizing them, telling them, how to spend their money. Ooh, Jesus. You're going to get the evil eye. This is my money. You can't tell me what to do with my money. This is my life. You can't tell me what to do with my life. So you stay away from judging and making criticism and making statements like that. Instead, stick to the I statement, such as, I'm feeling concerned because you look like you're losing weight. I'm feeling concerned because it looks like you're not eating enough protein. I'm feeling concerned that you're not getting enough exercise because you're sitting a long periods of time. Use the I statement. All right. I'm worried. Okay. I am concerned. All right. That's be sensitive and stay away from criticism and judgment. Number 4, know that timing is everything. Productive conversations never happen when everyone is feeling stressed out or exhausted. So make sure you choose to have challenging conversations on the days when you and your parents are feeling relaxed rather than depressed or anxious or upset about something. Again, choose your battles. Timing is everything. Don't get into, conversations where decisions have to be made when, or you're going to bring up something that is going to be seen as being abrasive or something they don't want to do. All right. So choose your battles. Choose a time when you're both relaxed. You're in a good mood. All right. You're having a great meal together. You're listening to some music. You're looking at the grandchildren, and the great grandchildren are talking about going on a vacation or taking a few days to be with them. Whatever. Knowing timing is everything. Number 5, be calm and stay calm. Be calm, stay calm. On some level, your parents may be aware that they are facing some new challenges, so avoiding discussions about their future might seem safer to them than admitting to reality. Okay, I'm going to say that again. On some level, your parents may be aware that they are facing some new challenges. So avoiding discussions about their future might seem safer to them than admitting their current reality. So stating your concerns calmly and speaking with love and tenderness can help reassure them that change will be okay. All right. So, number one, be persistent and practice patience. Number two, avoid power struggles. Pick your battles. Don't nag. Don't harangue your parents. Don't push them. Okay. Number three was be sensitive. Criticism and judgment can put them over the edge and cause them to be defensive. Number four, timing is everything. Bring up subjects that you know they might have a little issue with. Bring it up during conversations over a meal. When they're in a good mood, you're on a drive, you're just out and about, and you're taking a shopping or something. Okay. And then number five was stay calm. Number six, seek outside help for yourself. Take a sip on that. Seek outside help for yourself. Dealing gently with stubborn aging parents may not come easily. If you yourself feel frightened, if you yourself feel helpless, if you yourself feel frustrated, if this is the case, please divert some of your caregiving energy to yourself and get some outside support for yourself, be it meditation, a meditation group, a counselor, a therapist, a support group, a prayer partnership. You can't care for somebody if you don't care for yourself. You got to make yourself a priority. Because if something happens to you, what's going to happen to your parent, your elderly parent? So you got to take care of yourself. We've been talking about that. All right. Seek outside support for yourself. It's like when you're on a plane. What does the airline stewardess tell you? What do they tell you about that oxygen when it drops from the ceiling? If there's some turbulence or whatever, they always tell you, put it on yourself before you put it on your kid. All right. If you're traveling with an elderly parent, put it on yourself first before you put it on your elderly parent. All right. Do you first, boo. Okay. Look out for you. Right, Jean? Yeah. Spend more time with them. Okay. This is where, okay. Although you may not have much extra time on your hands, try spending a little more of it with your parents. That is, if the relationship is not a source of conflict. And there are so many families that are torn apart. Oh my God. My God, my God, my God. Spend some extra time with your parents if the relationship is not a source of the conflict. As your parents continue to age, they will likely appreciate a little more attention. Your interactions might even become more harmonious if you know you're prioritizing the relationship. Watch this. Instead of squeezing it into an already hectic schedule. Oh, I'm going to take a sip on that. Your parents already know pretty much your schedule because we talk about it. Oh, I can't come today. I got this to do. I'm going to the church. I'm going shopping. I got to go to therapy. I got to do this and that. So they already know that the object of your whole day may not include them. So that's why it is important to carve out specific time frames to be with them, to do things that you may not have normally done before. Take them to a new restaurant, take them to a new shopping area. Just take them to a park, take them someplace where they can get out, smell the coffee, see other people interact. All right. And just pretty much we know what our parents like. My mother, she don't care if it's 15 degrees outside. She will put on her coat, her hat, her boots, and come outside, get in that car very gingerly. And I put her walker in the trunk, take it out when we get to wherever we are, and mosey on with wheeling that car, whether it's in Target, whether it's in Macy's. It could be 100 degrees, but that's what she likes to do. I could say, oh, I will go do this for you. I'll do that. Just give me. No, she wants to actually go and do it, even as mundane as it could be. All right. She still wants to go in because that's that independence. That's that autonomy. So if they feel that you're just squeezing them in by the hair, your chinny chin chin, that's going to make them feel some kind of way. So spending more intentional time with them is very important. it will, make them feel special. All right. Here's another one. Ask questions. Instead of talking at your parents, talk to them by involving them in the conversation. Start by asking open-ended questions. For example, why don't you want your cousin Mary to come in and fix your meals? In a best case scenario, this approach may allow them to reflect upon their situation and conclude that a change really is in order. Use open-ended questions. Why don't you want to go and visit so and so? Oh, you haven't told me that you've talked to cousin so and so, or your friend in Tallahassee. Why isn't it that you haven't talk to me about this thing or that? Use open-ended questions, okay? And that will allow them to reflect upon the situation and conclude that a change is in order, okay? You haven't talked to them in quite a while. Oh, their birthday is coming up. You might want to give them a call. You haven't been over to, visit your neighbor in a while. Oh, you know what? Sunday is going to be a beautiful day. Maybe I can take you over there. You can sit in the sunroom and you guys, I'll bring you, both lunch, order something that you want. I'll bring it to you and you guys can have a chat and a chew. All right. Ask open-ended questions instead of just talking at them. And don't just, sit there with your phone in your hand and you're scrolling, you're reading text and doing things like that. I'm talking about myself right now, because you got this to do, you got that to do. Always on the phone, instead of talking to them. And the thing that they really like to talk about is their past, things that happened when they were younger, things they may have done with their husband, vacations they may have had with you, or vacations they may have had with their grandchildren. They want to engage in conversation, and not always heavy conversations about the doctor, this, and, my last visit to the hospital, my last visit to the doctor, my last therapy session, my last dialysis. They don't necessarily want to talk about that stuff. Okay. Here's number 9. Come up with solutions. Focus on addressing your parents' concerns rather than telling them what to do, and commit to doing your research. And if you don't have an answer, don't make one up. If there's something that's going on in your relationship, or you're dealing with someone with Alzheimer's, or you're dealing with someone with dementia, or some other chronic ailment, if you don't have enough information on how to deal with that, talk about that with your parent. Do your research. Google is your friend. Bing is your friend. There's no reason for you to be ignorant on some of these topics. All right. Do your research. The goal here is to cultivate trust and foster a spirit of mutual support and cooperation. All right. So if you don't have the answer to what is ailing your parent or what's going on in their mind, do your research. Don't just come up with an answer. Okay. 10, focus on the benefits. Always focus on the benefits of your proposed solution. For instance, if you see assisted living as the answer, then emphasize the variety of social and recreational activities that these communities can offer. If you feel that assisted living would best benefit your elderly parent, then talk about the variety of social interactions, recreational activities that particular type of community can offer. Okay. Here's number 11. Bring in other family. Remember, caregiving is a large responsibility, one that you shouldn't have to take on your own. So if you have siblings, schedule a family meeting to talk about your concerns, or ask them to talk to mom and dad. Just make sure that you see eye to eye on the important issues. All right. That's what me and my family do. We have Zoom talks. We have, telephone conversations about, vacation times. We schedule our vacation times so that somebody is with mom, can cover that time, period where we're going to be absent or out of town for vacation, or out of town for work. It's a big responsibility. I thank God for my sister in South Carolina, which is only 2.5 hours. I thank God for my brother who lives here in Wake in North Carolina, but he travels a whole lot. So it's important to stay in touch and on good relationship, knowing that one or the other could get burnt out. Okay. So we have to cooperate one with the other. So make sure that you see eye to eye on important issues, like especially vacations, especially holidays, work schedules, things like that. Number 12, Get some help. Enlist the help of supportive friends. Consider scheduling a family meeting that includes a close friend or a neighbor. Sometimes it can be easier to hear the truth from someone outside the family, and that is the truth. Okay, thank God for the one of my mom's neighbors. I have her phone number. Her name is Suzanne. So if something happens, I can always call her. And she'll come over. She's able to even get into the house and do some things. Do some things prior to one of us getting to my mom or to getting to whoever needs help in that household. Okay. So don't be afraid to enlist the help of friends, even from the church. All right, your church family. It's important that your parent have an extended faith community that also can get involved in interacting with them, and sometimes even their care. All right, even just listening to their opinions on certain things, because sometimes they could offer things or suggest things that will go over really good from an outsider that will not go over very well to from their own kids. Okay. Number 13, talk to your doctor. Talk to their doctor. If all else fails, contact your parents' healthcare provider, and let them know about your concern for your parents' well-being. In the end, a medical professional may be the one person whose advice your parents will listen to. They may not listen to you. They might not listen to anybody else, but they sure enough, most likely, will listen to that professional healthcare provider, especially if they've been going to them for a long time. And it's important when you get older to have that one single healthcare provider that you see all the time. Okay. That's the one healthcare provider they become comfortable with. They don't mind sharing secrets with. If something else turns up, they experience something else uncomfortable, new, pain here or whatever going on. They feel comfortable because they are trusting. They trust that individual because it's the same person they've been seeing every time they went for their visit. So talking to their doctor is important. Having a healthcare provider that's consistent, that's stable, that they see all the time, okay, whenever you schedule your appointment, is very comforting to them, all right? So we talked about spending more time with them, asking questions. Instead of talking to your parents, talk to them by involving them in conversations. Come up with solutions. Focus on addressing your parents' concerns rather than telling them what to do. We talked about focusing on the benefits. For example, if them being in an assisted living community would be better for them because there's more interaction and more recreational activities, then put that on the table. Bring in other family members, including friends. Talking to the doctor. Here's number 14. Outline the consequences. If your parents are still bound and determined to stay in their 4-bedroom house or to keep driving, calmly let them know about the possible consequences of their action. Don't frame things in punitive terms or talk to them like they're kids or children. Instead, remind them that their actions extend beyond the family. For example, Mom, I love you and want you to be independent, but I also don't want that independence to come at the cost of hurting someone else because of a car accident that you caused, all right? Because that could be a real wake-up call that none of the family wants to deal with. So outline the consequences of them making decisions that are inappropriate for their age, inappropriate for their condition, medical, cognitive, these are things that happen all the time. And, when my mother went to Houston, she was insistent that she could still drive, that she could still keep her license. And my brother said, no, wound up selling her car. She did not like that because that really, 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 really hurt my mom that she could no longer. She was 80, she was more than 85, 86, something like that, could no longer keep her driver's license. And I know that happens to lots and lots of people, especially giving up that driver's license. Ooh, that's everything to some people, especially elderly people. Here's number 15. Don't count on your parents changing. Good morning, Connie. Do not count on them to. Ultimately, they may be nothing you can do to change a parent's mind. Remember, your parents are grown and they don't have a problem telling you, I'm grown. I'm your mama. whatever. They're adults who have the right to make their own decisions. And sometimes the best thing you could do is honor their wishes. I'm saying the best thing you can do is honor their wishes. You might think they don't need X, Y, or Z, but if they tell you, I want X, Y, and Z, it's best not to argue. It's best if they got the money, especially if they got the money, it's best to honor. Don't get in a pout. Don't be like, Ma, you got 10 of those. You don't, woo, Jesus. Let me take a sip. If they got the money to pay for it, it's best to honor their decision. They good and they grown. They had you. You okay? Just sit down in your spirit. Honor their wishes. Yes, especially if they're paying for it. Who are you to tell them they don't need it? And they got $50,000 in the bank. Let me take a sip. Who are you to tell them they don't need it? And they got 50, 60, $100,000 in the bank. Come on now. You don't want them to have another pair of shoes. Okay? Stop it. Oh, Jesus. Number 16. Try to understand the motivation behind their behavior. When approaching your loved one, listen not only to what they are saying, but listen to what they ain't saying. For example, they may be afraid to move to assisted living because they are worried about making friends. Not everybody is able to make friends in their older age. They might be scared to do that. All right. They may be resistant visiting the physician because they fear what their doctor may say about their condition, their changing condition. Many times, fear and anxiety is the underlying culprit of their behavior. Okay, let me stick a pin right there. Many times, fear, anxiety, anxiousness about the next shoe dropping, anxiety about the next diagnosis, something else you've been experiencing, and you dread, your kids taking you to the doctor because that's something that's the doctor's going to expose, and it's going to be one more thing to kind of nail the coffin, nail you into, having, even more limited independence or autonomy. All right. So accept the situation. Don't beat yourself up. Here's number 17. I got one more after this. It's difficult to watch your loved one face challenges caused by aging, especially if they are not receptive to help. However, you can only do so much convincing and pleading to change their mind or get them to explore new options. Sometimes it's so hard to get them to explore new options. Even the things that they used to be able to do, whether it's quilting, whether it's sewing, whether it's, accounting, whether it's reading books, puzzles, whatever it was that gave them pleasure. Sometimes it's hard to even get them to go back to doing some of those things that would actually be fruitful and helpful to them maintaining dexterity in their fingers, in their hands. And, if they used to exercise or go to Pilates or whatever, bowl, whatever, sometimes it's just hard to get them to go back to doing some of those things that they used to do because they just don't want to. Sometimes they just don't want to do it anymore. All right. So don't beat yourself up. You can only do so much convincing and pleading to change their minds or get them to explore new options or even the old ones. Work with your own counselor or support group to help accept the situation for what it is and know what you cannot change and what you can. All right. No, God, give me the grace to accept the things I can change and the wisdom to know what I can't change. Right. Some things you're just not going to be able to change. And, that's where therapists come in that can remind you and talk to you. OK, so they will help you understand. OK, this is what you can do and this is what you cannot do. And you just got to be good with it. And don't get all bent out of shape. Don't lose no sleep over it. It is what it is. Sometimes dealing with older people, your parents, or the older, it just is. It just is what it is. And you cannot change that. And you can't beat yourself up about it. All right. And the last thing, treat your aging parents like they are adults. I know that when they get to a certain point, it's like flip. It's like the script is flipped because the manifestations of the things that they're doing, it's like they become the kid again. All right. And you feel that you got to fix them because now you're the adult and they're the kid. No, don't do that. Oh, Jesus. Please don't do that. I'm talking from experience. Treat your aging parents like the adults that they are. Your parents are still your parents, and they don't mind telling. I don't know about your parents, okay? But they don't mind telling you, I'm still your mama. I brought you in the world, I'll take you out. They're still your parents. And it can feel jarring to them and to you if you begin treating them like the child in the relationship. I'm going to take a sip. Don't do it. Remember that your parents are adults and they deserve to be treated as such. During your conversations, focus on empowering them and giving them plenty of choices and input into every situation, every decision that involves them. I'm gonna say that again. Treat your aging parents like adults. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to myself, Connie. Your parents are, she's still your mama. He's still your daddy. She's still your daddy's sister, okay? All right. Treat your parents as adults. I know it can be hard, but if you're treating them like children in the relationship, it's not going to go well for you. It's just not. They are adults. They deserve to be treated with respect. Don't curse at your parents. Don't, dismiss them. Don't mistreat them. Oh God, they are still your parents. So during your conversations, focus on empowering them and giving them a lot of choices and input into their own livelihood, their decisions that involve them. I know that sometimes, it's a hurting thing when our parents reach a point where, especially, length of days, especially if they have chronic illnesses, or if they have illnesses that they know they will not recover from. And sometimes parents make the decision like, you know what, I'm not taking no more chemo. You know what, I'm not taking no more dialysis. You know what, I'm not going to be on a heart monitor. You know what, no, I'm not doing that. And it's very painful when they've come to that conclusion because of the doctor or because of their own health issues that they've been dealing with something for 10, 15, 20, 25, and they just reach the end of the road. It's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. We don't want to hear that, but we got to respect, we got to learn to even their ends of days, the end of their day. If they make the decision that they no longer want to do X, Y, or Z, we cannot impute our own opinion and our own thoughts and our whatever and say, no, you can't do that. They're adults. They are adults and they get to make up their own mind. All right. And that's why they have these, things that you have, affidavits, things you have to sign, and everybody should have one of those, by the way. I can't even think of what it's called. Jean, you know what it is. So just type it, where if there's something that goes wrong, when you're in the hospital or as you age, and I'm not even, okay, I have one of those. It's, what do they call it? You have to sign, no resuscitation. It's the end of, what is that called, Jean? Please help me out. You have to sign so that your doctor knows, a living will. Everybody should have a living will, regardless of whether you're, whatever age you are, so that people know how you want your last moments to be handled. Do you want to be resuscitated? And how many times do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to be on a machine? Your parents, when they get to be a certain age, or they're going through a chronic illness or terminal illness, they have the right to say what happens to their life. Okay. And if it's in writing, if they put it in writing, or they have somebody write for them, and somebody sign, or however you sign it, because you can sign it whatever ways that people know that that's my signature right there. You can't undermine that. It's a painful thing. But again, allow your parents to make that decision, and you just have to be okay with it. You may cry and moan and groan, but you still have to respect their, what their wishes, what they want to do with their life. Okay. Speaking of that, it's my mama right there, call it. So it must be time for me to get off. Okay. All right. I pray that something I said today, I have to tell her, I'll have to get back to her. Wait a minute. I'll call her right back. I pray that I said something that was beneficial to you today, because you know what? As I'm helping you, y'all just really don't understand. I'm helping myself. And the more I talk about these issues, the more help I give to myself, because it gets in my spirit, it gets in my mind. It helps me to make better choices, better decisions. It helps me to, find ways to interact more effectively with the older people in my life. My mom specifically, since she's the person that I'm interacting with while I am down here. There were, years when I lived so far away from my mom. I lived in Connecticut, Connecticut. Connecticut. She lived in South Carolina. Then she moved to Texas. I was in Connecticut. And now I'm here. I'm here in North Carolina with her. And, God does everything. He does everything for a reason. Nothing happened. Nothing just happens. I'm down here for a reason. And so I want to make the best of every opportunity. And I know I'm not perfect, but I serve a perfect God, and he's still talking. He's still speaking. Good morning, Pastor Tammy. And I know he's helping me, because he is my help. He is my helper. And when I know I'm off and not doing, the things I should do, he will remind me, you can do that better. Okay. You ain't quite got that together yet. I know what you said, but I see what you do. Okay. It's not what you say, it's what you do that matters when you're dealing in a caregiving situation with a parent or an older adult. Could be an older sister, older brother, could be an auntie, uncle, whatever. All right. Okay. I'm getting ready to go. Just a reminder, and I will be reminding you about my podcast that's coming up prayerfully. And I'm dealing with this shingles thing. So y'all please pray for me. I have a couple more days on this antibiotic. And so please pray for me that I don't have to move things down a little bit further. I'm excited about the podcast, Lydia's Tea Talk. I just want to don't forget to tune in the 5th of February, 7 p.m. for the first episode of Lydia's Tea Talk. Grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in. Let's embark on a journey of growth, of laughter, and connection. Yvette C. Owens and Catrice Cornett are my first guests on the 5th. That's next Monday night at 7. I'm so excited. And so, again, in order to see the broadcast, you have to be a part of my early morning tea group. I'm having second thoughts. I might also share the broadcast with my YouTube channel, which is Lydia Ford International Ministries. All right. And if you're not a subscriber to Lydia Ford International Ministries, you might want to do that, because my tea talk might wind up there for those that cannot tune in on my page, Early Morning Tea. So you will be seeing the podcast from Early Morning Tea. If you are a part of that group, I encourage you to do so before Monday. Okay. All right. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in, Jean, Sheila, Pastor Tammy, Minister Sheila, I should say, Evangelist Jean, and my good friend Connie also was on this morning. And sometimes there are people that are on, and I just don't know that they're on until later on, when I kind of look back and see who was on, and I try to say hi or respond or like some of the comments that they make. But again, pray for me. I'm going to go and I got to check about, my shingles. They're not spreading. They're still in that one little location, but my eye was hurting a little bit. So I just want to kind of check and see what's that all about. All right. But anyway, I don't have any itching. I don't have any sores. I don't have none of that stuff. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. You are my healer. You are my deliverer. You are my strong tower, and the righteous run into you, and we are safe. So you pray for me. I'll pray for you. All right. Talk to you all later. Bye.